I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, and welcome to our podcast, For the Health of It. Remember to subscribe to our podcasts, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well.
The information presented on this program is not intended to take the place of your personal physician's advice, and it is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Discuss this information with your own physician or healthcare provider to determine what is right for you.
Are you suffering needlessly? Dr. Joe can give you advice on how to naturally get well and stay well. Dr. Joe Esposito.
What we're talking about today is something that's really timely, seasonal affective disorder. You're thinking to yourself, but Dr. Joe, I do not know what that means. SAD, seasonal affective disorder, it's a type of depression that returns around the same time every year, usually late fall to early winter. Now we're kind of a few weeks into winter here. When there's less sunlight and the days get shorter, some people get it in the spring and summer, but that's not as common. So we actually respond to our environment. And this is not uncommon to see when people get the winter blues. Now, what happens is, of course, we have the winter solstice, and then the days start getting longer and longer. And it can happen at any time, though. And with seasonal affective disorder, it's a pretty big issue because people get sad. And when they get sad, they get depressed. And then many times happens around the holidays because people will have a big anticipation for the holidays. And especially this year being unlike any other holiday we've ever had before, people expect things out of the holidays. You watch the movies on those special channels where the couple meets and they fall in love and everything's wonderful and they kiss under the mistletoe at the end and everything's great and happy. That's not real life. In real life, things happen, problems occur, people get sick, there's financial issues, you can't go see your relatives, the gifts you got stink. So whatever it is, many times people sink into this depression because of expectations. So some of the symptoms, you might feel tired, sluggish, and just have low spirits for a good portion of the day. It sometimes can last for weeks at a time. And you're thinking to yourself, I'm just having a bad day. Yeah, but when the days turn into weeks, turn into months, that's when you start to have a problem. You might find it hard to sleep, hard to concentrate, or enjoy your favorite activities. It's possible you'll even overeat and gain weight. We called it the COVID-15? What was it? The Quarantine 15. The Quarantine 15, where people put on weight through the quarantine. And then this year's especially was particularly taxing because you couldn't see your family. It's the first time in my life I wasn't with my mother on Christmas this year. So there are things that come into play, and then there's always the daily activities and the daily issues. There's job and there's family and there's work and there's paying bills. And if you live in the north, you might have snow and it's cold and you can't get out and do your things. And so all these things can really kind of pile up, and some people are affected really poorly. So really badly, I should say. So what you'll find is when you're running into people at this time of the year, understand that it may not be that they're just a jerk. It may be that they're actually suffering from this condition. So I think it's due to less sunlight at certain times of the year. It can trigger your body to change in ways, and it uses certain key brain chemicals. And we've talked about neurotransmitters many, many times on this show. The four major neurotransmitters, the chemicals in the brain, are glutamine, norepinephrine, GABA, norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine. Those are the four major neurotransmitters. And what they do is they make your brain function. They make you, you. So serotonin, for example. Serotonin helps you focus. Dopamine gives you pleasure. GABA, made from glutamine, GABA suppresses other nerves. And then norepinephrine gives you energy. But GABA, for example, 90% of your brain is suppressing the other 20%. 10%, I'm sorry, this is my math day, my New Jersey math. 90% of the nerves are suppressing the other 10%. And so when people start to have tremors, for example, I have patients that have these tremors. Sometimes it's called an intention tremor, where when they go to reach for something, they get a tremor. Or they may just stay still and have tremors. Their head may shake, their arm may shake. That's usually a sign that the GABA is not suppressing the other nerves that are firing off, causing the body to cause these tremors to occur. And so one of the things we try to do with people with tremors is we try to make sure we get their GABA levels up. And we can do that by giving them supplements. There are supplements we can give somebody. There are drugs, but the drugs many times have side effects. Sometimes you need them. I'm not saying don't take them. But many times it's a digestive issue because a lot of these tremors happen in the second half of life, and we're not digesting our food properly. So whenever I see somebody with tremors, I always start to think, wait a minute, I bet you there's something going on here with the body not breaking down proteins into amino acids. Amino acid glutamine becomes GABA, and GABA helps suppress these things. So we always have to look at what the cause is, not the symptoms. I just had a patient earlier today, yesterday actually, I forgot, and she said, my doctor says my blood sugar is just a little higher. than it should be. Like right around 90, 80 to 100 is good blood sugar, and hers like 106. Immediately wanted to put her on medication. Now, I'm not an endocrinologist. I always respect what the other doctors do. But I said to her, did the doctor give any other suggestions? No, nothing. Just got to take the medication. There's nothing I can do but take the medication. Now, I don't know if she was telling the truth or not. I'm just relating what she said. So I said, if we can stabilize your blood sugar through diet, most people, major majority of people with type 2 diabetes don't need to take medication. And she said, that's why I'm here, because I want to get to the cause of the problem, not just treat the symptoms. So with seasonal affective disorder, there are medications we can give you, antidepressants, but that doesn't fix the problem. We're going to go into what the problem is in just a second here. So fewer daylight hours raises the levels of melatonin and lowers the levels of serotonin, because remember, serotonin becomes melatonin. So if melatonin levels go up, serotonin may be depleted, and you get tired all the time. Melatonin helps you sleep. So when it's dark, your brain says, yes, it's time to go to sleep. When it's light, the brain says it's time to wake up, normally. So we're messing with the neurotransmitters in the brain now because we're just not getting enough sunlight. And that could really throw off your sleep patterns and then your mood. So who gets it? Who might be a high susceptibility to this? The farther you are from the equator, the more likely you are to get seasonal affective disorder. For example, if you're 7 times more likely to get it if you live in New Hampshire than if you live in Florida. So again, the further away from the equator, it gets darker sooner. Also, depending on what side of the time zone you're on. When I grew up in New York, which is on the eastern end of the time zone. So the sun came up early, set early. I remember when I was a kid, even grammar school, high school, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's dark. You want to get out of school and get home before it got dark because the sun was setting. Now, if you're on the western end of the time zone, sun's going to come up a little later and set a little later, about an hour. So where you live has a dramatic impact on the likelihood of you getting depressed in the winter. Anyone can have this condition, but people with family or personal histories of depression can usually have it worse, and their symptoms oftentimes worse. Women get it 4 times more than men. No idea why that statistic exists, but it's statistical. It is what it is. So how do you know you have it? Low energy. Could be a sign of several things, though. It's interesting. Patients come in all the time. Dr. Joe, I had a cough yesterday. You think I have COVID? I don't know. There are other things that are happening aside from COVID. There are other things that can make you tired. It could be a viral infection. It could be thyroid problems. It could be low blood sugar. Could be that you're not sleeping properly. So just because you're tired doesn't mean you have winter depression or winter blues. Lack of sleep and weight gain and feeling moody could be symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, but also could be hormone issues. It could be related to seasonal changes. So in our office, we sit down with the patients, and if they come in with with depression as one of their symptoms, we sit down and we say, okay, give me your family history. Give me your diet. What are you eating? Some people say, well, I'm an alcoholic. Okay, well, that's going to put a big strain on your liver. A very, very good friend of mine out in California, when I first met him, he was about 6'6", bodyguard. I mean, he looked like your typical bodyguard. Great build on him. And he worked with, he said, don't mention names, but, Frank Sinatra he worked with and Britney Spears. So he was a well-known bodyguard. But he drank a lot. Now, I just heard from his girlfriend that his liver is in a state of failure. So he probably doesn't have seasonal affective disorder. He's probably got liver failure. So hopefully he'll pull out of it. The good news about the liver is that it's the fastest healing organ in the body. So if you start doing the right things, many times the organs can come back. So just because you have some of these symptoms doesn't mean you have COVID or you have seasonal affective disorder. It could just be that you've done things that have damaged your body. Our staff, we kind of work with the patients to try to decide what's going to be the best treatment. So we look at your diet, we look at your lifestyle, we look at your sleep habits, we look at your spine. Pain is exhausting. Anybody have chronic pain? It's exhausting. And so people come in, Doc, I'm tired all the time. Well, you can take supplements. You can take Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, B-complex, nitric oxide, adrenal support. Those are the 5 that I recommend when people want to get boosts of energy. But then we'll say, okay, why are you tired all the time? Well, Doc, I've had this neck pain, these headaches, this shooting pain down my leg every day of my life for years. I had a lady come in a couple of days ago, and she has had headaches every day of her life, and she's 73 years old. She goes, I cannot remember a day I didn't have a headache. So, yeah, she was a little moody. She was a little edgy, but she's in pain all the time. So you got to kind of walk a mile in their shoes to see what they're dealing with. So we try to get to the cause. And if you think, well, Dr. Joe, I'm tired, I'm gaining weight, I'm staying home a lot, I'm depressed, maybe it's seasonal affective disorder, maybe it's other things that are really easy to treat. Like in her case, it was a pinched nerve in her neck. And we adjusted her. And after the adjustment, she sat up and she said, I don't know if my head doesn't hurt. I'm not sure. I don't know what it feels like to not have it hurt, unless she's on medications. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it'll get well. But many times people come in and they're depressed and they're drinking diet sodas. Diet sodas have aspartame in it. Aspartame is an excitotoxin to the brain. People are doing monosodium glutamate. And monosodium glutamate and aspartic acid, excitotoxins actually burn out the brain cells. And so the brain can actually start to shut down. So I get people off their diet sodas. I get them off their Chinese food. I get them off their processed foods. So many processed foods have monosodium glutamate, and then suddenly start to feel better. And they think I'm the smartest guy in the world. Well, I'm not smart. I'm just a good diagnostician. I can dig into things and say, okay, if this causes this, then what happens here? So I guess I am smart too. But we try to get to the cause of the problems. And when we can do that, the results are usually outstanding. Not everybody. I mean, there's maybe 5% of patients, 10% of patients that don't get all the results that they want. But in most cases, we get great results. And there's no reason not to fix the nervous system, fix the digestive system, and fix your diet. And the diet is going to be a biggie. I'm going to talk about that in a second when it comes to depression. Light therapy helps. There are actually special lamps you can do that replace the sun when you're stuck in winter months. So you can look up seasonal affective disorder lighting. Now, again, I don't know if it's going to be good or not. I can't give you a recommendation. I don't know any offhand. But these lights act like sun, but they don't give you the rays that are going to burn you, which is good. And so if you just do 20 to 60 minutes every day around this light, many times that's enough light to get the brain rebooted again. So that's a thought. I had somebody I knew, and she worked overnights. And so she had this issue. And so I said, well, what do we do about it? So she went ahead and got a light box and put it when she was getting ready in the morning, and she turned it on, and she did great. And so there are things that can be done to help reset the brain. And that's what I keep talking about so many times. It's resetting the brain. It's getting the brain to do what it's supposed to do. And the brain is a machine, and sometimes it short circuits or misfires. That's why we talk about digestion, which we'll talk about in a second. Getting the right nutrients to be digested and absorbed and utilized to produce the neurotransmitters in the brain. And that's oftentimes the missing link when it comes to any case of depression, anxiety, depression, ADD, ADHD, even people that are suicidal. Many times we fix their digestive system and the brain starts to work. We're going to cover that in a little bit. It's okay to talk about these things. Don't think, oh, I'm going to look like a wimp. I'm not going to look like I'm tough. It's okay to talk about these things. I support, if you need to, go to a therapist. Sit down with a therapist and let a professional work with you to help try to get to the cause of the problem. If you've never been to therapists, I think it's great. Because the things we're not taught in life, we're not taught how to take care of ourselves. We're not taught how to have a relationship. We're not taught how to make money and save money. Those are the three things that all of us have to go through. Whether it's a relationship with your coworkers, your friends, your family, your church members, we're never taught how to have a relationship, how to deal with issues in a relationship. And it's really important, I think, that people get taught that. I always said if I was Grand Poobah of the universe, I'd change a few things. And one of them I would do is I would teach kids in school a class on how to deal with relationships. How do you deal with people? Because people sometimes can be a little annoying. We got to talk about how to get ourselves healthy. And that's why this show on our website, drjoe.com, we have over 1,500 hours of podcasts. And if you if you want to follow a podcast service, whatever your favorite one is, just look up Dr. Joe For the Health of It. For the Health of It is the name of our podcast. And you can download as many podcasts as you want. You can get it from our website, download it from our website. So there's tons of information that I'm trying to do to teach you how to take care of yourself. And then how to make money and how to save money. And that's a biggie. And so that's not something I'm up for. Clark Howard, of course, at WSB Radio, he's the guru on saving money. But those are the three things I think we all need. And if we have those three skills, chances are we're going to have a lot less depression in our lives. And if something like seasonal affective disorder comes along, we're able to deal with it a lot better. We're all affected by it. We're all affected. How many times you say, oh, gosh, it's so dark out. I can't believe it's so dark already. I just want to go home. I don't even feel like doing anything. Everybody says that. So we're all affected by the seasons, but we just have to know how we process it. So talking to a therapist is not a bad idea. If it becomes a real issue that's affecting your life or your family's lives, your friends' lives, it's not a bad idea to do that as well. I do want to talk about how the brain works, and I talk about this a lot on a lot of shows, but we have people listening all the time, new listeners all the time. So your stomach has one major job, And the stomach's job is to take proteins and break them down into something called amino acids. Now, the amino acid named tryptophan becomes serotonin in your brain. Serotonin becomes melatonin, which helps you sleep. So if you have too much melatonin, you're using up the serotonin. If you don't have enough melatonin, you may not be making enough serotonin. So you got to get the digestive system working. So if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, these are signs your digestive system isn't working. Do not ignore them. This is just like you're bleeding as far as I'm concerned. If you're bleeding, you're going to do something about it. If you have a lot of digestive issues and it's a regular thing, it's a real serious symptom. So you might want to come see us for that. Let's see if we can get the digestive system working. Sometimes we need to actually adjust the stomach. The stomach sits below your diaphragm and it can push up into the diaphragm. My team of doctors are trained by me to adjust or pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. And when that happens, the stomach relaxes and starts digesting proteins more efficiently. I also recommend you take a digestive enzyme if you're eating a cooked meal. In the winter, we don't eat as much raw food usually. Some people never eat raw food. But if you're eating a totally cooked meal, I recommend Dr. Joe's Digestive Enzymes. I take one every time I have a cooked meal. My friend Larry loves my split pea soup. So I make split pea soup and I give a bunch to Larry, and he's very happy. And I'll have a bowl or two myself. I enjoy my own split pea soup too. So I always take a digestive enzyme with that because it's going to digest the food more efficiently. Anytime I have a cooked meal, though, it's a digestive enzyme. And those digestive enzymes are on the website, drjoe.com. Strongly advise you do that because that's going to help you break down your proteins into amino acids. So tyrosine becomes dopamine. Dopamine gives you pleasure. And many times when I see patients that are depressed, they don't have a lot of pleasure in their lives. And so we've got to get the pleasure levels up. We can easily do that in most cases by getting the proteins to break down to amino acid. The tyrosine becomes dopamine, and then dopamine gives you pleasure again. So I do recommend if you have these issues, always look at your digestive system. It's the one thing everybody seems to ignore, and for some reason, it's the most important thing. And many times we fix somebody's digestive system, it's crazy how happy they are. People bring their children to us all the time, and adults with ADD, ADHD. Fix the digestive system, and then get them on good foods. Because even if we fix the digestive system and they're still eating alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, they're not going to get the nutrients that they require. So that's why we get people on things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, which, folks, that's the minimum supplements you should be taking every day. Everybody across the board, even children, people send all the time, well, Dr. Joe, I have a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old. How much should I give them? Give them a quarter dose, a half a dose. It's a scoop. Just give them a little bit. Put it in their foods. And it's amazing because it has enzymes, it has prebiotics, probiotics, a complete multivitamin. That alone, people respond tremendously to just by getting food and nutrients into their diet. Some people consider like cookies, cakes, donuts, and pastas food. Not really. It's junk. I want nutrition. Whenever I think of food, I think of what's nutrition, what's going to get my body working better. So Super Greens and Essential Source, cooked meals, digestive enzymes always, and just those raw foods alone, you're going to see, in most cases, a big change in somebody's attitude, including children. With ADD, we may have to adjust their stomach, or with anxiety or depression, we adjust the stomach, pull the stomach away from the diaphragm. Now they start digesting their food. So when you have something that isn't working right in the body, whether it's headaches or neck pain or back pain or shoulder pain or acid reflux or ADD or ADHD, emotional disorders, folks, those are warning signs. Your body is screaming at you, hey, this is a warning sign. Pay attention to me. It's like a fire alarm going off. You wouldn't shut off the fire alarm, would you? Fire alarm is going off? No, you'd say, okay, where's the fire? Put out the fire, not the fire alarm. And many times we put out our fire alarm that we call symptoms without ever putting out the fire. In our offices, we try to get to the cause, not just treat the symptoms. And if you do want to make an appointment, folks, you can go to our website, drjoe.com, and book an appointment. We'd love to have you as a patient. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. drjoe.com, right on the front page. You can book an appointment right there. You can call us if you want to, book an appointment there. Normally, the first visit is $375. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first adjustment. And then the second visit going over the x-rays and doing a complete nutrition evaluation. We've reduced that to $199 through COVID. So we're trying to make it more affordable for folks to come in, and people are loving it. Treatment after that, we accept most insurances, car accidents, sports injuries, workers' comp injuries. If you've ever been in a car accident, if the car was damaged, you were damaged 100% of the time. So you definitely want to get in to see us right away because the longer you wait, the more complicated the insurance company can make this for you. That's a little thing they do to you. Well, you weren't hurt. You didn't go to the doctor. Well, I was in a coma. You know what I mean? I had one lady, I think I told the story before, her father died. She had to go to the funeral. She came back and an insurance company said, well, you didn't go to the doctor. We're not going to pay your claim. It's like, but my father died. And she actually had to get a death certificate to send to the insurance company for them to even consider it. So the insurance company's job is to try to get out of paying, and your job is to make sure you do everything you can to they don't do that. So if you do want to come see us, drjoe.com. We'd love to have you as a patient. Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Another thing we have to look at, what am I going to talk about, folks? You listen to the show. What's the one supplement I talk about every show? Vitamin D. Research, there's some mixed results on this. People typically have less vitamin D in their blood in the winter, and doctors don't know if that's actually a cause, but there are some studies showing that vitamin D supplements help make people feel better, and so there's no reason not to take it. That's the nice part. Vitamin D, as long as you're taking it within reason, is not a problem. I take 5 drops of Dr. Joe's vitamin D every single day. Unless it's the summer, I'm going to be outside a lot, I take 5 drops a day. Now, if I start to feel under the weather, if I start feeling sick, which very seldom happens, I will take 50 international units, 50,000 international units, which is 50 drops of vitamin D for 3 days. And then I cut back to 5 drops or 5,000 units again after that. But there's studies now, even with COVID patients, they're giving them mega doses of vitamin D short term and seeing some really good results. So I'm not saying I have a cure for COVID. I am saying that this is something that you should be doing every day. It's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever buy. So if you're not doing vitamin D on a regular basis, you really should be. It's really important you do that then. There are little things you can do to manage your symptoms. Connect and spend time with others. I know sometimes it's tough. I want to go home at night. I don't feel like going out. I don't feel like socializing. Sometimes I have to force myself. Now, normally I'm pretty active between lectures and radio shows and TV shows and meetings, but there's certain stretches in my life where it's just like I just don't feel like going out. I will actually force myself. I'll connect with some old friends that I hadn't seen in a while. So let's get together. So I have to be the initiator. And many times the friends will say, thank you for calling. I really need to get out of the house too. Hey, let's do this on a regular basis. And we'll go out and do our things. So it's really important that you connect with other people. Exercise is really important. Get moving. It can really lift your mood. Do it outside if you can, of course, but if you can't, just clean the house. Last weekend, I just had a total domestic day. I spent the whole day cleaning, mopping, vacuuming, doing windows, laundry. I went outside. I did some stuff outside. I cleaned up my garden a little bit with some dead plants that were in there. Felt great. So you don't have to necessarily hit the gym to get exercise. You can clean your house. Save some money too. Wash your car. It's a little cold, but vacuum your car. Get out there and do things. And eating a balanced diet is the most important thing you can do. I want most of your diet to consist of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. I want you to stay away from the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Now, if you don't know what to eat, because now a lot of you are saying, I don't know what to eat, Dr. Joe. That's my whole diet: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Go to our website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Type in the words in the search bar, 7 Deadly Sins of Nutrition. Listen to that lecture. We did that one in California, a big group out there. I was guest speaker, a bunch of other famous people there. Listen to the 7 Deadly Sins of Nutrition. Then type in the search bar, so what can I eat? And listen to the show we did on so what can I eat? We talk about what you eat, what you don't eat. It's free. Website's free. Okay, you can spend as much time as you want there, as long as you want. That's going to give you a lot of good information as to what to eat and what not to eat. And if you start getting seasonal affective disorder, some people get it in the summer. Not a lot, but it's usually a winter thing. It might be different. You might get agitated or anxious. You might feel depressed. You might start craving certain foods. You might stop eating. All of these symptoms, if it's off your normal pattern, once again, these rules apply. So if you want to get well and stay well, normally functioning nervous system, normally functioning digestive system, good nutrition. The website, again, has over 1,500 hours of podcasts. Type in what you're looking for. If you have a question, there's going to be a little bot that pops up and says, hi, how can we help you? Send me your question. I'll get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. And I know a lot of you are on the website middle of the night because I get the questions 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, drjoe.com, the website. You can book it right online or call us. We accept most insurances, car accidents, sports injuries, all the supplements we talked about available on the website, or come to our offices, pick them up, save some shipping. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, drjoe.com. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to For the Health of It. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, and I'll help you naturally get well and stay well. You can also listen to and call into my radio show live Sunday evenings from 7 to 9 Eastern Time on WSBRadio.com and on a WSB Radio app.